Welcome in everybody to another GR Yaris how to install guide. Today we're fitting the rear undercovers from the optional Aero Package on the Gen 2 GR Yaris to the Gen 1 GR Yaris. Easiest way to tell is the boot. It'll be paint matched on the Gen 2. On the Gen 1 it's just they're all black. So there you go, there's Gen 1, Gen 2, pretty easy. There's a bunch of other differences, but either way that's not about this video. I've got a bunch of other GR Yaris guides in the playlist in the description. There's also more GR Yaris content to come, always and before, so check that out. But let's get into it. So what do we need? It's pretty straightforward. We've got two covers, some tools, and some clips. The clips are pretty straightforward. You need 4 of each. 4 clips of these guys, 4 of these bolts, nice and easy. Here's the rear right part number, there we go. And the rear left part number, there we go, very easy. I'm pretty sure that's all the tools we need. We've got a little 10mm socket there and a little clip tool, and then some really nice shears, because we need to trim some of the undercover that's already under there so that we can gain access for these guys. More tools you need: a ruler and a marker. You also need a stand and a jack, because we have to get under there. Let's get onto it. We'll put the camera up here and start jacking it up. I'm fitting these for 2 main reasons. The first is their smooth shape, which will help airflow from being less turbulent underneath the car. You can see all these divots and things inside the body of the car. When air goes across that as you're driving along on the highway, it creates turbulence. And so smooth surfaces like this on the underside of the car reduce that turbulence, which means you're reducing drag, which means you're improving fuel economy as you're driving along. Also technically top speed, but fuel economy, that's a very nice one. And also, the other main reason is the obvious protection this will provide. This from like all the rocks and things that are coming up. Because when you're doing rally, there's all kinds of rocks and things getting bashed around. It'll also allow me to attach some mud flaps here that'll help protect the rear control arms. Whoops. Once you got the car jacked up, we need to start figuring out where we need to cut the standard covers. That's these guys here. So we do that. We start with the rear right. I don't know, I just chose it arbitrarily. You can start with whichever side you want. I'm on the rear right, so let's go with that. Anyway, flip it over. And so this edge here goes up and around and down over there. That's where we need to cut that to get this to match up. Because this guy here slots into this. We essentially need to cut off this wall here. But it's not perfectly, it is perfectly straight here, but it's not perfectly straight here. So essentially what we need to do is we start by getting the rule, any rule, whatever you have, putting it up against that, and then just eyeballing where the bolt hole is, because the bolt holes are on the car. So we can use the bolt holes as a reference for where we need to cut. So on this outermost, this is the outer side, this is the inner side, the big long bit is the inside, because that's where the exhaust goes, and on the outside there's the control arms. So the outermost, what do we have here? About an inch? Inch and a quarter? 25 mil? Yeah, 25 mil, 40 mil-ish. So that's the middle one, 25, 45, and then on the inside it's going to be a bit more, 60, 25, 45, 60, there we go, on the inside. So I'll need to mark that up, and then we can figure it out, where to cut. You can, it's a little bit tricky to see, but you can kind of visualize it. But just jam it in there, holding it up. You can, where are we? So that, yeah, somewhere around there. There we go. So let's get those things cut, shall we? There's that hole needs to, this one here. That guy needs to go about there. Oh boy, this is getting heavy. Let's measure the rear left as well while I'm here. It's a bit tricky because they're flipped over. So this is the inside, this is the outside. Goes on the other side over there, the passenger side, at least in Australia, left hand. Yeah, the left side of the car. Anyway, flip it around. The inside, no, this is the outside. The outside's got the cutout for the control arm. Inside is straight. There we go. So outside, where are we? Around 30 mil. It juts out around 30mm here, so this bit's nice and straight pretty much. Then you just got to come in a little bit for this guy. And then you in the back here, 70? Yeah, about 70. About 70. So what are we? We're around 40. And then it comes in around 25. There we go. Alright, let's mark them up now. I've already done this side. We'll get a closer look at that in a sec. So on the left side, it's actually quite neat. I've measured it up and it's right here, and that lines up perfectly with this crease that's here. Yeah, so there's this interesting crease, and then this little section here is a slightly different shape. You can kind of feel it running your finger over the edge of it, and that perfectly lines up again with the cut line. So this is nice and easy, and then we just need to move it in a bit. There we go. To clear this bit here over there. I think it's in, or is it out? Either way, I'll draw it up real quick. Okay, we're on the passenger side here. I've got the line marked up. You can see we just come across, go up around there a little bit. Over there, nice and straight. Come across to the driver's side or the right-hand side. And again, pretty easy. Whoop, there's a cutting off the light there, that's no good. And right on home. There we go, so you can see the line's pretty straightforward the way we have to cut. So now all we have to do is to undo all of those screws there on each side, so we can drop these big panels down, cut that off, and then slot in the new trim. Now the great thing is that the Toyota actually thought about this before they even before they even released the product. So you got 2 holes here. These are where the clips go, and then there's a little tab here with a nut welded on the inside. So this is where one of the screws goes, and presumably one of the other screw goes somewhere else. So you get 2 clips for each side, 2 screws for each side. And then here, in this bracket, they've got the 2 little tabs for the clips, and further back in the subframe is the mounting bolt for the other screw with the nut already welded in. Very good. I think might be somewhere over there where the other screw goes. Either way, we'll find out in a sec. But yeah, Toyota planned this. They planned it from the start. How dare they? Very good. So undoing the stuff is pretty straightforward. You just got to get this guy conveniently. It's perfectly the right size. And then undo it a bit. Now these are actually, these big ones on the, outsides of the thing. These big ones, they're push-on clips. So they thread off, but they push on. Which means they all need to come off equally, otherwise it'll never come off, because it'll just slip back on as you're trying to undo it, because the other ones are pushing on, it'll push itself back on. So they all need to be taken off at the same time. These guys, this is pretty hard to do while looking through the camera. I might have to use oh, there we go, nice and easy. And then just pop it out. Easy. Alright, let's get the rest of them out. It's all the same thing if I can. See, there we go. Yep, nice and easy. I'll get this off real quick and then join me in a moment. If you do off-road motorsport like I do, now is a good time to consider taking off the whole undercover, because this area in here, it's a bit tricky. Oh, I can't get any light in there. Yeah, this area in there, it just fills with mud. It really does fill with mud. So if you do any off-roading events in muddy conditions, this one, that one, they're going to be filled with mud, especially this whole center line here. It's hilarious. I'll put up a picture now when I took mine off. But yeah, so you want to do that. Either way, so we've got this off now. That's nice and loose. That one's a bit tricky. That one's more loose. Let's get the shears and start cutting. Okay. Ow. I need 2 hands for this, so I'm going to have to cut ahead and edit it in. Okay, so I had to undo the middle ones, those 2 with that one on that side as well, just because, where are we? Yep. There we go. Now we can actually get it down and I can get the scissors in there. Woo. So yeah, the middle ones, they also need to be undone. That's better. We can get in there now. Yeah, so that little, there's that area I was talking about that fills with mud. Good fun. There we go. Yep. There we go. We've already got some stupid. You can just about see all the rocks that are up in there. Lots of them up in there and down. There we go. There we go. Good stuff. Okay, so I've got the two bits cut off. See, it's going to be a bit tricky. There we go. We can just about see them there. And before we go any further, this little guy here, you can see in between the bolt and that little guy there, and the same on the other side. That little guy, where are you? Here. They need to be popped out. Okay, nice and easy. Just pop you in. There we go. And there's our extra bolt hole. Yeah. Now for the moment of truth. Get two of the clips, not the screws, because the clips are going to be a little bit easier. And then we take the cover, and I'm going to do this one-handed because I'm insane. Because I need to film with the other hand. And what we want to do is, there's that, oh god, there we go. Make sure you get it on the inside of the control arm. There's a little thing over there. There we go. And hook that into that. Okay, good. Okay, that's in place. Now, I need to panic because I've only got two hands. I'm going to have to use the camera. There we go, camera, grab the clips. Shuffle into place, and there we go. We can see we've got the holes. That hole's lined up. That's the bolt hole in the rear, and these are the ones in the middle of the bracket for the fuel tank. That's the one fuel tank. So we've got to get that, hold it with the camera, jam that in there, and wha-bam! Easy, easy, so easy you can install it while holding and manning a camera. And there we go. So now that we've got those two in, just need to line up the bolt holes. Easy. Easy, easy, easy. Okay. There we go. That one's a little bit hard to see, but it's in there all right. Now I don't want to tighten them up all the way because I want to make sure that all the others can be aligned in. I think at this point you'd want to make sure that your cut marks are in a good position. Otherwise it's going to be a little bit awkward to get this thing back together, but let's just jam it all on. Should be right. So I might have to trim that a little bit there. Okay, let's see how. There we go. Alright, let's have a look. I can't quite zoom out enough, but either way, look at that. We've got the tray cover back on. Oh, yeah. That is going to do wonders for reducing drag, improving fuel efficiency. If you have enough rake in your suspension heights, as in the rear is higher than the front, then this could actually produce a little bit of downforce, but you need side skirts to stop the air from coming in from the sides. Yeah, okay. Let's just got to get the other side on. Look at that. That's sick ass. Whew. Really firm as well. Really firm as well. And I think as well what I'm going to do is, because you can see all the control arms here, they've all been peppered with rocks. And that's chipped away the paint, which is starting to make them rust a little bit with all the exposed metal. So what I'm going to do is get a mud flap and just mount a mud flap and going along here. That'll protect them a bit more. Do that in another video maybe, I don't know. The other side is not installed yet. I'll do that now. It's essentially the exact same thing as what goes on here pretty much. Thanks for watching everybody. Yeehaw! Oh baby, look at that. Oh, look at them. Sick. Yeah. Let's get in there. So I did have to trim a little bit. Oh god. This is really tricky. What was it? These guys here. This bit needed to be a little bit more towards the front of the car, the cut along there. It's not perfect, but by having a gap there for me, I'm going to leave it there. It's if you were doing like circuit work, you'd want it to be flush. But for me, I'm going to have, I want that gap because then mud can escape. The same on this side. I didn't cut it enough there, so around this bit it needs to be back a bit more closer to the original bolts. But either way, very sturdy, very good. Unfortunately, it does make it a little bit awkward to access the sway bars. The sway bar would normally be mounted here. So if you were changing a sway bar a whole lot, that would be a little bit annoying having these covers fitted. But I don't have a sway bar because I do off-road stuff and I don't need it. Either way, look at that. That is sexy. Very sexy, like it should have come from the factory. Good stuff. Remember, there's the playlist down below for more videos, and I'll see you later. Woohoo! Catch you in the next one.